Good morning, and it's Lilia here from Heal Scotland with the Help Yourselves podcast. And today I'm very excited to talk to Kenny from the Polar Bear Club. I have been watching what these nutters have been doing, actually drawn to want to try it and going, oh no, I'm too scared. So it's really great to chat to you, Kenny, and amazing to see that the work you're doing in communities. So how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Like we spoke about earlier, I've been no well for a wee while, but I feel like I'm at the worst yet. But apart from that, I'm doing good. All good.
Yeah. So listen, tell us about the inspiration. Well, tell us first about all, what is the Polar Bear Club for people that have not heard about you?
Polar Bear Club is quite vast. It's got so many different elements to it. You know, in one hand, we're like just a standard cold water therapy group. We've got a big load of members. We all go to beautiful locations every other weekend. Mulport, Saltcoats, the Campsies, whatever. We pick a place and we go, and we just a big meet up and go for a swim, a cold water dip. That's kind of how it started. And then we've got this sort of more crazy, serious, competitive side to us, which is like the 5-hour relays, standing in the ice box, the snorkels, all that sort of stuff. And then we'll go to our community interest side, which is a side where we work with local recovery teams and the prisons, hopefully the schools, the young people. Obviously, I'm an alcoholic, so I just like to bring something to people and give people stuff for sobriety and mental health and stuff like that. So I've got a load of stuff going on.
And have you got an actual place? Have you got a place where you?
Aye, so we've got our own premises up in Bishop Briggs, up on Crowhill Road. It's actually quite a beautiful building we've got. We've got a nice big sort of living room, sort of party, hangout area, and then we've got a separate bit for our 2 big ice tanks. And we're just about to put a sauna or recovery room in it as well.
Fantastic. So let's just talk about your alcoholism, if you don't mind, because I'm a big fan of the 12-step program because I think we should all be doing it. So can you talk about how you decided, what was the kind of the dark night of the soul that made you think, right, things have to change?
Well, my recovery journey has been running for about 12 years straight. A couple of years of that was in and out of fellowship, struggling with this idea of an obsession in my mind. And I really struggled with the whole, I wasn't in control of my own thinking. It's a very hard thing to explain to somebody when, this voice in your head that sounds like you, your voice is lying to you and telling you to pick up a drink. And you can't really see the truth that every single drink I've ever had my whole entire life is either led to pure carnage and mayhem. So to try and understand that was crazy. For a couple of years, I just couldn't get it. I couldn't understand it. And then I went into a sort of 5-year sobriety, beautiful sobriety. Done really well, helped a lot of people with the 12-step program, as you say. I love the 12-step program. That's what gets all my credit. And then I dropped the whole fellowship idea. I started chasing money. I was sober. I'm actually quite a clever guy. I built this big business up. I had all these people working for me. The money was rolling in, and I became distracted from my sobriety and helping people. And I started chasing the devil. And then my first family holiday, literally the first family holiday, booked in with my ex-partner Nicole, my 3 children, and I took a drink. Like, the insanity had won, and this obsessive thinking came in. It was like, have a wee drink, we'll sort it out next week, don't worry about it. And I went straight into a 4-year relapse, which was worse than any of my drinking I could ever have imagined. It was a really, really dark place. I was an alcoholic with a lot of money was a dangerous thing. I could do what I wanted, I'd drink what I wanted. I was travelling all over the United Kingdom, London, Manchester, Leeds. I was pulling off these big amazing jobs, making lots of money for it, and my drinking was getting worse and worse. And I got myself into a place where, she's an alcoholic, right? Especially an alcoholic with knowledge of alcoholism and drug addiction, going through a 12-step program, taking that to a lot of people, having all the knowledge in your mind, but not being able to stop drinking. See, they say knowledge is nothing when it comes to alcoholism. It's the action that keeps us sober. So I had all this in my head and I couldn't understand why I couldn't put it down again. And that was a really, really dark place. So got to a point, it was Halloween 2021, and I couldn't take it anymore, and I literally could not handle no wanting to drink, no being able to stop drinking. The family home was crumbling. It looked good on the outside, or the car, the van, the guys that work for you, the business, blah, 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 all looked good on the outside. But inside I was dying. And I decided at that point that was it. I'd had enough. The world was better off without me. And I tried to kill myself. I wanted to die, so I tried to kill myself, and I woke up in the hospital the next morning. And that was a dark place, you know, to wake up through that. But in that, there was a sort of glimmer of hope. I'd went through, you know, all the doctors and nurses, the therapists, the CAT teams were in the hospital coming in and out talking to me. The psychiatrist came in at the very end, and we were just sitting talking about my life and my alcoholism, drug addiction. And my family were always very clever. Everywhere I went, there was always a fellowship book sitting either side of me. A 12-step program was always in view. They always had it out, round about, and the side of my table was all my books. It was like a vast literature of fellowship books, and they were all sitting there, and the psychiatrist pointed it and went, you know, there's nothing we can do for you. Like, there's nothing we can't help you. When you're a chronic alcoholic, the only thing you can do is go back to that. And that's the only thing that's going to work for you. And at that moment, I was like, no, you're wanting these psychiatrists to tell you something and give you something. But really, they just told me, is you need to go back to, you know, what works. So that's what I done, man. I went back. I didn't even go back. Do you know that? That's a lie. One of my pals came busting through my front door when I go to the hospital, big book under his arm, swearing and shouting at me. And he started to read the book to me. Started with doctor's opinion and then went into Bill's story. By the time he'd finished reading Bill's story to me, I sat up and I kind of went, oh my God, what is happening here? Like, what have I done? And Nicole, my partner at the time, says, 4 years, Kenny, you've been missing for 4 years. And do you know, I didn't even believe it. I didn't believe it was 4 years. Like, I was like a zombie. I was lost. I was gone. I was in full flight from reality, man. I was living in a delusion for 4 years. I hadn't seen my kids really. Even though I was running about them, I hadn't seen them. My oldest daughter, my partner before Nicole, Yasmin, you know, I hardly spoke to her. I was picking her up every other weekend, and I was just gone. I'm just chronic alcoholic. I was gone. And for that's really where everything started for me. My sobriety and my journey in the cold all started, you know, pretty much at that point. And for there, I just ran with it, man, and just tried my best for there, really.
Wow, what a story. There's a couple of people on, Luca and Hilary. Hi, guys. So there's a few things that you said there. I think, you know, the difference between the knowledge and the action, and I bang on about this all the time, because I think we're all addicts to some degree and to very different things. And even to the whole idea that we're getting old, we want to hang on to these ideas because we believe they're belief systems, it's our perceptions, and they're so strong. And, you know, people kill because they believe different things. It's happening all over the world right now. But it's always like my friend, she's got a business called The Sweet Escape, because sugar addiction obviously is a very, very destructive addiction as well. But it's less kind of chatted about than alcohol or nicotine or drugs, because it's, you know, it's available everywhere, and they've snuck it into absolutely everything. So, and I think like what you were saying, the knowledge and knowing what you should be doing, as my teacher always said, you shouldn't on yourself, and actually moving through this kind of emotional, whatever's going on, this energy system, to actually making yourself take the steps, do the actions. And I know people who have come off alcohol without going through the 12-step program, but it seems to me that why would you not have a framework and the support network? Because, you know, I tend to work with primarily women, but not always only women, that have been diagnosed terminal. And they don't have a community of people that are doing the things that need to be done in order to get well. And that's, so I've always thought we need a like a Believers Anonymous, because I think the 12-step model it works for so many people. If you choose to stay in it and work through it, it works. We know that. We all know, hundreds of people literally that it's helped. But it's the ability, I think, as well, to do the work. To actually be willing to go inside. And my friend who does family constellations, where we look at the whole ancestral system. And I think in Scotland we have to do that, look at what happened, why are we malfunctioning, and why is it so, powerful and so simple almost to go down the wrong path, to chase the devil rather to do the right thing.
Exactly. We spoke the other day, I know your post the other day about God, religion, spirituality, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, a lot of people have got a prejudice against the 12-step program because it mentions the word God in it, right? Mm-hmm. But without even getting in and reading the book and actually seeing that in there, it actually specifically states that we are not religious, right? It states it in the book that we are not religious. The 12-step program is specifically designed to bring you closer to a higher power, which you understand, no matter what that is. It can be whatever your higher power is. And it's designed to bring you closer to that. It's designed to humble us. Step one, admitting that step one is the easy one. We can admit, we can accept that we are, we get that right, we know this, and then we go into willingness to believe in something that you don't understand. And then you make a decision to start using this thing that you don't understand and start using it in your life.
You're saying step one is easy. I think for a lot of people it's not, because it's almost like until you admit that something's destroying your life and your choices that you're making are taking you to a place you don't want to go. That takes a lot of courage, I think. And then probably and then willingness, obviously, it's willingness to admit it, and then a willingness to do what needs to be done in order to be the father, the husband, the participant in the human race that you want to be. It seems so
Most
simple.
Most alcoholics and addicts will wake up on a Monday morning 100% convinced that they are. So they're in despair and they would do anything in that moment to get sober. Most of us go through these moments of clarity on a weekly basis. It's at that point you have to catch them. Because when an alcoholic goes for that moment of pure, that moment of clarity in your deathbed, lying there, praying to a God that you don't believe in. Everybody's done it in a moment of pure darkness. Everybody, talking about me waking up spewing in the toilet pan every single morning. I would always go, please, going to get me out of this. But in my darkest moment, I would do anything to get sober. Most alcoholics go through that. But what happens, and they go through it constantly. But what happens is we get to a point in the day where we start to feel a wee bit better. The obsession kicks back in, and then he tells you it's all right, take another drink again. So it's about catching alcoholics and addicts right in that pure desperate moment when they can accept it, they can admit it, because most days know. When they get to a point where everybody around about us is telling us that your life is a mess, and you're an alcoholic, and you're starting to tell yourself every morning, I need to stop doing this. When you start telling yourself that, I need to stop doing this, and then you can't stop doing it. It's that moment. That's when we need to get them. That's when we need to get them.
Uh-huh. So, I mean, I think it's incredible the work that you're doing now. And I think that, it's almost like you have to walk through that journey in order to then, when you talk to other people with addiction issues and going into prisons, you can relate at a level. And I think that's really powerful. Instead of somebody kind of saying, you need to do this and do as I, say, rather than do as I do. I think that's, even in the healing world, for somebody that's maybe healed themselves from cancer, for example, that's the people you want to talk to. It's like, how did you do it? And how did you, because, and it's a bit like weight loss, it's like the actual losing weight, people know they can do that, but then it's maintaining it, isn't it? It's maintaining the weight loss. It's maintaining your level of zenness. It's maintaining your sobriety. It's always about the maintenance of the changes. And we know now as well that very often, from neuroscience and the work of Joe Dispenza and Greg Braden, etc., and Bruce Lipton, the kind of repetition and the practice and the discipline, but primarily Lynn McTaggart demonstrated the community and altruism. So it's the giving 100%. Back where 100%. We get this much stronger electromagnetic field than we get when we're given things. It's the giving.
definitely.
It's all in the giving. And that's what you're doing now. So tell us about how the cold helped you.
The cold came into my life when I was about 2 weeks sober. I actually tried to get into the cold 9 months before I got sober. My good pal Stevie took me up to the Campsies. It was like December or something. I went into just a wee stream party, and it was horrific. I just wasn't ready then. For 9 months, I kind of dabbled around with the cold showers, and I was just trying to do anything to stay sober at that point. It wasn't until after I tried to kill myself, came out of the hospital, back into fellowship, and then my big pal Robert took me up to the Campsies. He kind of said to me the night before, "Why don't we try this again? Why don't we try and go into the cold again?" He was jumping about with a big guy Jed. They were quite kind of pioneers in Scotland at the time. Yeah, the cold
Jed
that went in my eyes anyway. But I said, "What?"
Jed. I love Jed. He's
Aye,
awesome.
so like, well, they were kind of like, I looked up to them. They were out and about doing it all. And Big Robert said to me, "Why don't you come up and get a try?" And I said, "Right, all right, come on, I'll go up and do it." And I remember the fear that morning. I was pacing the living room. Oh, I can't believe this. I don't want to do this with my day. And I went up and I went in. But at that time, I was desperately trying to stay sober. I was really, really trying to go against the grain. I was trying to go against my thinking. I was ravished with this thought of taking a drink, taking a drug. Yeah. And I walked up the Campsies with him. I put a pair of swimming shorts on and they pushed me in. And at that point, I couldn't really deny it, because for however long I was in the water at the Campsies, not the beautiful waterfall, my mind shut off for about 3 minutes. And I was laughing and I was shouting, and I came out and I was shaking and was laughing all the way up, back up to the van and stuff, and I couldn't really deny it. So at that moment right there and then, I went there every single day. I ended up shutting my business down. The guys all kind of get paid off, and yeah, I went to the water every day. I was going to the Campsies, or I was going to Balmaha, or I was going to Lush, and I just repeated it every single day, man. And what I was doing was I started doing like video. I tell you what actually happened, right? Because obviously I'm now seeking out God. I'm back on the 12-step program. I was going through it fast. I knew I had to go through this fast. I've not got time anymore. Man, he's going to get me. So I'm back seeking out God. I'm seeking out the cold. And it was a morning when I woke up, right? And my heat had got me, man. It was just trying to get me to drink. And I was in my living room. I was crying. I was sobbing. Tears and snotters. And I knew it today. I just grabbed a pair of shorts. I grabbed an old towel and I ran up to the Campsies. And I ran up to the church. I cried all the way up to the waterfall. I cried all the way into the water, and I was screaming at this waterfall, man, in the depths of the winter. Please, God, going to give me a fucking break. Going to help me. I don't want to drink. And as a water I was charging, right, and I felt what I say. I felt the cold seeping into my body, man. Right? I could just feel it, and it felt nice. It felt like a hug. It felt like this beautiful hug, and I was sobbing, and like. And it's like a bolt of lightning. Like, I'm not saying it was God or anything like that. I don't know what it was, right? But it was like a party inside my head. I just heard, "You're going to be all right. You're going to be all right." So I went through crying. I lost you there.
Aye, You went from
So,
crying.
I went from that crying to laughing. And at that moment, I realised, I'd had some sort of spiritual experience, or just a change of thinking or whatever. At that point, I knew I was going to be all right. I knew I was going to be fine. And I danced all the way back up to my van, rattling and rolling. And for then, everything changed. But stupidly, like, ego-driven, I remember thinking to myself, had you only recorded that, you would have recorded a spiritual experience, right? So for that moment, I pulled my phone out and I started recording all my journey. And I started talking to the camera. Started talking to the camera all the time, telling people how I was feeling, whether I was in a good mood or a bad mood, whether I wanted to drink or I didn't want to drink. I was starting to talk about how the cold would make me feel. Then I started to go through, my feet were sore the day, my hands were sore. And I just started recording the journey, and then I started to get a wee following. Right. And I remember one day I just put a post out saying, "I'm jumping out to Lush, who wants to come out for a dip." And I go to the Lush Pier and there was 100 people standing there. And I was like, wow, man, this is wild, man. Like, this is mental, like crazy. And for there, we just kept going and going, and it's kind of just snowballed for that.
Fantastic. So it's because it's really all about timing, isn't it? And I think, you said something there when you're desperate, and we all do this, even if you profess not to have any belief. That's when you start actually questioning if you are there going to help me through this, and that's the
Exactly,
ultimate surrender, isn't it? It's the
yeah,
ultimate surrender. And
exactly, yeah.
I am studying the Bible right now, with a couple of amazing women who give me their time for free. I don't know how or why they do it. They want to spread the word. Obviously my old brain, I don't believe anything, or I'm always questioning and asking. I'm like, well, I could see it from an energetic, a quantum physics aspect, because obviously a lot of the stuff I teach is about how to change how you feel. And we're always chasing that feeling, whether it's alcohol, a cigarette, or a shopping spree, or whatever. So it caused, the first time I put it out that I was studying the Bible, oh my God, the pushback and how people judge you. You're just like, it's a book, right? I'm looking at it because
It's crazy, isn't it? It is crazy.
No, it is totally crazy. But now I'm just unapologetic because it's really, really helping me. Now, my belief systems haven't changed in terms of like, I can't see a big man with a beard and a wee guy with a tail. That's not how it looks to me, but there's definitely dark energies. I think we can all see that looking out. And there's definitely these much lighter, higher vibrational frequencies. And if you keep it as simple as that, why would you not want to be there where you can feel connected and non-judgmental and have a much higher spirit perspective of the interconnection of everything in the universe? That's how it seems to me. But also, I watched The Chosen. I don't know if you've seen that yet. I highly recommend you watch it if you haven't, because it's a really entertaining way. But also to see how Jesus dealt with, if you to believe it. It doesn't even matter if it's true because it's a good parable. You need to have faith. You need to have faith. And I'm sure when you're helping people in recovery, people in prison, where they seem to have everything taken away from them and they feel powerless. That's actually the moment when you can turn to, I think you even said in that post, something that really struck to my heart was that I think when you were a wee boy coming from the schemes, and I'm from the schemes too, you couldn't believe, that God was really there for you, maybe for others.
Unthinkable. It was an unthinkable concept to believe that there was something up there. I remember when I started the fellowship and looking, I'm talking like 12 odd years ago, and you've got the steps up the wall, man. It's like, came to believe that a power on yourself could restore you to sanity, and you're like, God, and I'm only insane. And it was like, it was just unfathomable. Like, what? God, don't be ridiculous. Until I started going to like fellowship meetings in like Postal Park, doing in Postal, and there's all these hairy ass guys and scheme boys, and they're all standing up talking about God. And I was like, what is this, man? Like, and it was all these guys, bin men and dinner ladies and lollipop men and lorry drivers, and they're all sitting there, this pure North Glasgow accent, and they're all talking about God, and you're like, that's what we're talking about, the community, a group community, and then you start to listen to them, and it's like, you can see it in their eyes, you can see the post something. A long timer, man, he always talks about the shiny, happy people, and you're like, it's so noticeable to the people that have got this in their life, whatever their God might be. It's none of our business what somebody's God is, but they've got it in them, and you can see it in their eyeballs. They're free for something, and they've got a faith, and it's like, it's undeniable. And you think, maybe I know want that. Maybe you know want that in your life.
Absolutely. Sometimes I think that faith is, you're almost a bit envious of it, that blind faith, because I realised, a few decades ago when I had a very challenging time that I had to find a way to make sense of it. And as long as I could feel peace with the way I made sense of it, that was actually all that mattered in this moment. So that's what made sense logically to me. And I think the reality is we're all learning every day. We're expanding. We're maybe more willing to look at, well, what, somebody said, it has to be considered. What if there is a God, of whatever way you want to see it? And what if, we are protected and loved? And if we can live in alignment with that source energy, again, whatever you call it, life will be an awful lot more rewarding and loving and peaceful. Why would you not want that?
Why would you not want it? Why would you want it in your life? It's like, how can there no be something out there? Like, I think a lot of people need to remove the idea, because the people who are prejudiced against religion, right? And obviously we can understand why wars and, children being
Abuse.
harmed and blah blah blah, right? All the stuff we talk. We can understand why people don't really like the religion. I don't know like religion because of anything other than I wasn't brought up in it. I didn't understand it. It's just it wasn't in my life. But why would you bring something into your life that's going to change you, right? No, go back a bit, because I lost my train of thought there. Look at the sky, right? Look at the stars, look at the moon, look at the sun rising, the sun setting. Now, how can you not say there's something magical in that?
I know.
There's something in that that's a power. Look at when the clouds form, right? And it's raining. How is there no something magical in that? How the fact that the waterfalls have been running for all eternity and they never stop? How is there no something magical in that? And I think when you come through, sort of like the spiritual realm, or you sort of open your eyes to the planet, you start to see all this stuff, and then birds singing, children laughing, all these things that fly past you when you don't see it, when you're drinking and you're drugging and you're living in a sort of poisonous world, and you're living in doubt and regret and fear and bitterness and jealousy. You don't notice anything, but you come through a dark time in your life and you start to open up and you start to see the seasons. And then when it snows, it's not, oh my God, it's snowing. It's like, oh my God, it's snowing. It's like you start to see the magic of the world around about you, right? So how is that not God? How is that no? Because it's like the word God. The people are so offended by the word God. It's like it's just a fucking word, man. Get a grip. It's a word. Don't get
And the
offended by it.
Bible's
It's like
just a
people
book.
say, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in God whatsoever, but I do believe in a higher vibration. You're like, it's the same thing, man. Like, it's all the same thing. Get a grip. It's like they'll talk about all this pure spiritual stuff, man, but refuse to say the word God. Like, all right, it's just easier for me when I get up in the morning and I say my prayers. I don't have to go, oh, power of the universe, higher vibration, Mother Nature. I just go, God. And I use the word God, and it's good orderly direction. Or if you're really struggling, man, it's a gift of desperation. That's all it means to me. Like, it's just a beautiful word to use. It's a simple, easy word to use. Don't get confused by it. Don't get bogged down by it. You want to read the Bible? Read the Bible. See, if you don't want to read the Bible, don't read the Bible. Who cares? You do whatever works for you, man, and see if it's working for you. And it's working for you. You see, alcoholics, right? We have absolute lack of willpower regarding alcoholism, regarding drug addiction, right? We have no willpower whatsoever. We can't stop doing it. There's two cracking guys you can listen to if you're interested in fellowship called Joe and Charlie. And you can go to YouTube and search them up. Two old school American boys. I don't even think they're alive anymore. And they talk about willingness, right? They talk about trying to believe. And they're having a conversation with this guy, and he's saying he doesn't believe in God. He doesn't believe in anything. And the guy says, see, you know what you need to do? You need to hand your will and your life over to the care of that chair. Right? Look at that chair. That chair's now your God, right? But you need to now hand your will and your life over to the care of that chair. And the boy says, how can I hand my will and my life out of a chair? How is that going to help me? He said, because see if you hand your will and your life over to the care of that chair, your life will no longer be ran by a fucking idiot. It's meaning you give your will and your life to something else other than you, because your thinking's wrong and your thinking's skewed. So you've got to have some other way of bringing sort of positive willpower into you. Because when I'm asking the right questions to God, the universe, higher frequency, Mother Nature, whatever you want to ask it. If I wake up every day and I say a prayer or an affirmation, as people like to call it these days, then I'm putting the right stuff out there, and surely I'll get the right stuff back.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, it's like we've tried to kind of change the language, And it's the same from you go from like that, like the allopathic drugs and surgery, and you try and encourage people to go, well, let's try some more natural stuff, and then people try to sell you vitamins and supplements and all sorts of things. There's all the sales tactics, like, because we give so much of our power away. And that's the one thing that I've really got from the study that I've been doing, which is just go directly to source, whatever that source in it. Don't bypass through any other human, just go straight there. It makes total sense. It's logic. If I want to find out something about you, it's much better that I just come straight to you, rather than go and ask somebody else, So, but that's what we do. And it's all about fear, the fear, and I suppose that's the other big thing why the church, it's, shame and guilt. If you don't do this, bad things are going to happen to you. And that just switches people right off. Instead of going, well, look, here's another way to look at it. If you can learn to internally manage your own chemistry, your own emotions, your own reactions, all the triggers, etc., that's really where the power is. And if you can learn to actually love your neighbour, because as far as I can see, there's more divide now than ever. We've got all this information, all this knowledge. A lot of us that are big, like I'm big into quantum physics, understanding we're living in this quantum soup of energy. We are all connected, but you can't just say it and then not actually behave as if it's true. Because, if I harm you, I harm me. If I talk about you, my cells get that information.
Yeah.
So the blame and shame and complaining pandemic that we've got, what's bringing other people down, our politicians do it as well. The only person I see trying not to do it is Russell Brand, actually. He actually tries to bring the humanness into it. Remember,
a lot of people need to really, really try for that, though. But to change your mindset, to come away from sort of negative thinking and move into a more positive for everybody around about you, and you'll love thy neighbour and all that, right? For some people, it's not just as easy as switching. Like, even for me, I was a really angry guy, and I was a really angry, probably violent drunk, right? I was always fighting and in trouble and police and all that sort of stuff. And I remember sitting down with my sponsor in the early days, and we were always talking about, I ended up fighting with this guy, I was arguing with this guy on the motor. And for me to try and get rid of my anger, I had to start from the very, very beginning. I mean, the very start. And I remember him saying to me, like, you need to practice this, but you need to practice it when you're no angry. It's no good getting to being angry, right? And then going and then trying to stop it, because that's impossible. You need to start it when you're feeling good and positive. And because I was a mad road rager as well, right? And he said, what you need to start doing is, when you're going near the Kingston Bridge or somewhere like that, right? You need to sit in the middle lane. Don't sit in the left-hand lane, scoot all the way in and cut into the bottom like you always do, right? That needs to stop now. But you need to get in the middle lane and sit patiently like everybody else. And he said, and see when somebody wants in, you need to draw back and let them in. Right? And I remember talking about to go, who is he, man? Who do you think he is? I'm letting nobody in. I used to sit like that, bumper to bumper, and let nobody in and shout and ball at them, windy down, screaming with people. And now I had to learn. You sit, draw back, and flash my lights and go, and you come, pal, right? And fuming at it at the same time, and feel the anger, but no react. And then the people driving past me shouting and bawling at me because maybe I've done something wrong, I'd have to turn my head, and I'd be sitting going, get a shite bag, get up your shite bag, get up your shite bag. Like, and I couldn't look at them and interact with this anger and just let them go. And then that took so long. That took like months, maybe even years to really, really practice that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
That's a brilliant example. That's an absolutely brilliant example, because, I think we spend a lot of time thinking about trauma and horrible things that have happened. And we've all had, horrible things that have happened to us. But in actual fact, the triggering of the vagus nerve happens all day, every day, by stupid things like that. And we're literally poisoning ourselves by judging that continuous day-to-day stuff. It happens, maybe your parents, your kids, your work colleagues, somebody in Facebook or, another social, and so we're kind of like, this continuous, no wonder we're exhausted, because we're getting absolutely, we're changing our own alchemy like every minute of every day. And these are actually, I think, the things that we should be looking at now. Because when we know people And I come from a small community. When I was growing up here, you knew everybody. If a window got broke at the weekend, you would know who it would be pretty much. It was always, you know what I mean? It was always the same. So, and there's something in when you know people, you know the parents, you know the grandparents, you know the kids coming in. So there's a bit more tolerance around it. But when you don't know the people, and that's a lot of the case now. They don't know, so you're judge instead of just going,
Yep,
well,
yep,
actually,
yep.
maybe this person actually needs a lot of love and support right now.
Yeah,
If you
definitely.
see a single mum in your community that's really struggling on her own, instead of judging her, why would you not go and say, can I help you? Can I cut your grass?
Exactly.
Make some soup? Why would you not do? That's what we used to do in the old days, and now that's seen as some kind of sainthood. We should be looking after each other. And I think even in our community, so many people doing amazing stuff in Scotland and all over the world. But we need to, it's not a competition. We need to get away from that. It's a collaboration. The only way we can ever hope to really make that huge impact in our country's really quite worrying health picture is if we collaborate. We need
100%. There's so much competition and like what we do, especially in the cold water world. It's really is ridiculous, man. I take some amount of backlash at people. There's some certain ones out there that have always got something to say about what we're doing, and it's like, man, I'm not interested in what you're doing. I'm really
absolutely.
interested in how you're working your stuff. Like rather than
Just
saying, I can get a phone call saying, why don't you come over to my establishment? We'll sit down, we'll get a wee photo up, we'll have a coffee, and we'll talk. And it's like, no, like what you're doing is this and blah blah blah. And it's like it's so competitive, man. Like everybody wants to be the oracle. And they all want to be seen as the oracle and the person that knows all. Like, I don't know everything. I only know me. I only know what works for me. I only know that I'm willing to work with people and help them and give them my time and my energy. Rather than me going, he's rang and he's rang and he's rang. Now, like, we're no Wim Hofers, we're Valerio Romanovsky, but we all started with the Wim Hof method. We all started watching Wim Hof and being amazed by him and loved his story. And just because we went a different path doesn't mean we don't still love him. You know what I mean? It's just we went a different path. But now because we're knowing that path, it's like what we do is right. And we're like, well, man, can we not just all work together? Like, can we not just all do? There's enough crackpots out there for us all to work with. Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. We
you know what I'm
probably
talking
need
about?
2 or 3 of these ice chambers in every single community to do the work. The more we need more and more people doing it so that we can encourage everybody in. But it's the same in the breath work. It's all this, oh, I do it better than you. And it's like, oh my God, it's breathing. Will you give it a break? It's that whole thing drives me nuts because from the Heal Scotland perspective, we're like that. They're doing a brilliant job. Come on, let's talk. Let's get the word out. Let's inspire more people. I mean, our
I
motto
know,
is
man.
educate, inspire, support. And we're setting up a pop-up healing centre in Skye. My friend's given us his hotel for 2 months, and we're going to be streaming out this information. Your health, your child's health, you should never have to pay me for information to help you feel better. We have to take the money out of the agenda. And look what's happened to our healthcare system because of big profit and big companies. It's corrupt, man.
Yep.
And nobody, you rock up at the doctor, with type 2 diabetes, and you'll not even get told that you can change that in 2 weeks with food. You will get a pill. That is just mental and it's wrong. And whether you choose you choose to eat what you want and take pills, that's up to you as well. But then you're like, well, who should really pay for that? But the reality is a lot of people don't have the information. Why would the cold help you so much? And how does it keep you on track? Because it does for me. I got really lazy this year because there's stuff going on, but also where I was living, I would normally just get up, put on my swimsuit and go and get cold and then get dressed. So it was job done.
Yeah.
The tide goes out here. So sometimes I get up and there's no water. So I would just put my clothes on and then I wouldn't do it. So this month we've been doing a Duke a day and see the difference it's making. I know this. Like you, the knowledge is there, but all of us need to be re-inspired and motivated by each other. So if you're not well, I can go, come on. And when I'm not well, you can go, come on. That's what we should be doing. It's like, and especially when we drop the pound, the dollar, it's like, it's because why are we competing if it's only for money and prestige or people saying, oh, I'm
Yeah.
a better guru than you. All of that
Yeah.
has to drop away. We're a
Yeah.
sea of cells, all just struggling to feel a wee bit better and to help each other. And until we can see that power grid that Scotland can be, with the most incredible land, the most incredible indigenous food, seas and rivers full of brain food, and we stop bloody focusing and complaining and blaming and shaming, it's like, right, enough already. The government are not going to fix this. The NHS are not going to fix this. We, the people, by doing simple stuff like this, can help ourselves. And that is up to us. And we can inspire and support. And somebody might be sitting listening to this. I know the very first time I saw people going in the cold, it was in Ireland. It was November. I had on my fur coat, big hood and all that. And I was looking at them going, they're off their head. But there was also the part of me going, now they're getting something out of that. Why would you do that? That makes no sense. And then just by coincidence, I met a girl that night and she said, you would enjoy this. And I was like, not a chance. I hate being cold. I used to live in Malta. I like 30 degrees. And she was like, you need to try it. And she didn't try and convince me. She just said, you need to try it. And then I did, of course. And then and I hated it at first. Absolutely hated it. But my God, I got the feeling. I knew.
But what is it though that takes you back to it when you hate it? Because it's like it's so challenging, it's so difficult, it's uncomfortable. That's what we always say. You're trying to be comfortably uncomfortable, but there's something so undeniable after you've done it. You know, the feeling, the sleep you get after it. You know, the charge of energy you get, everything, man. The whole package after it is so undeniable that you need to go and do it again.
Absolutely. And it's the maintenance. I keep saying it's like brushing your teeth. You know, my son and I used to have a gym in Glasgow, and we worked with the Second Chance project. And my son initially was first like, what are you doing? Who are you bringing in here? And then he said it was his most favourite 2 hours of the week, because it was people that were in the 12-step programme that were willing to take action. They had a level of like, help, show me what to do, help me. And we loved that. You know, and and that's really what it's about, the willing to be in the discomfort, because nobody really wants to get cold on a daily basis. If I could be healthy and well and pain-free, I wouldn't do it. You know, if I could take a pill and get better, I would do it. But we understand that's just not the way it is. The body's an ecosystem. It needs daily tending. We have an incredible thing called our mind, and we can use that to change everything in this ecosystem. But I always say now, you can come and have a session with me. I've got amazing technology, but you're still going to go back into your community, and that's why then you're going to get what you always got when you do what you always did. So we need to be looking at this collectively, because it cannot work. If I've got somebody with terminal cancer and I'm saying, come over here and do everything that they're not doing. You've got young children, and you've got the terrible fear that gets put on you with a diagnosis and all the words that we use to describe what the body's doing. This person will inevitably want to get back into their comfort zone. So unless we have got strong communities where people are standing up and saying, we want our children well, we want our food absolutely clean and free from GMOs and pesticides and all that. We want our water clean. We want our rivers. We want microplastics as a thing of the past. We want the money spent in our communities. Until we're willing to stand up and do that, because they're not going to do it. It's not going to come from outside. It's got to come from us. In order for that to happen.
Fortunate. We just received funding for the national lottery there. They gave us just over 17 grand to work with 25 people over the space of 12 weeks. And in that 12 weeks, we're going to get into like the local rehabs and maybe people that have just come out of prison, and the young people's groups. We're building up a wee list of people they know, and we're going to take them in the club. So one Sunday they'll be in the club, and we'll take them through the basics of cold exposure. Get them in through the cold, bring the cold into their system, get them comfortable with it, and then the following week we'll take them out into nature, and we'll practice it out in nature, into the camps and stuff like that, and then we'll alternate it every week for 12 weeks. And by the end of the 12 weeks, hopefully people who are on this sort of sober journey, or maybe a journey through their mental health, will have a wee bit of knowledge that they can keep using this practice after the 12 weeks and bring it into their life on a daily basis with the cold showers, we do a 90-day program. Something that they can then take out and start spreading it to their peers. Because I think being able to give this to people freely is the way we want to do it. So for us to give it freely, we need help for bigger companies. You know, the companies out there that are making millions of pounds, and the government, likes of the National Lottery. Like, this is what we need, because it's no fair for somebody to have to come into my club and spend 25 quid on an ice bath and come in. And these people come into me and they're giving us money to come into the club, and we sit there. I end up sitting there for an hour and a half, and I'm like, it doesn't work financially. It doesn't work because the club's expensive to run. The premises are expensive. I think my rent's over £1,100 a month, and that's just for the electricity and everything else that goes with it, the price to run the truck or the insurances. It's just extortionate. So when somebody comes in and pays £25 for an ice bath, it goes straight into the CIC. Doesn't get in my pocket. It goes into the CIC, and that goes into running the club, and then that goes into the people that like just walk into the club and maybe sit and we try and help them. We have done this all by ourselves. We just, the members on the Polar Bear Club, all the sort of coaches, us, we all do it together. It's not just me. We've got a great team, and all the people in our club, they really help us. The Thursday nights in, the Wednesday night reset training, all the ice baths, any events that we do, all the money all gets took and gets put into the CIC, and then we can then take that into the rehabs and into the jails. I don't know how many times I've been to the jails or rehabs or brought groups into your club where we just go like that, no, it's all right, we don't want money off you. So now by the start getting this funding after lottery, if we do it properly, we do it right. You know, Katie's worked really, really hard. Katie's one of your directors. She's worked really, really hard in getting it. If we do this proper and prim, hopefully we put that down, and then we'll get a bigger funding. And ideally, I go through every day doing this for free.
Yeah, it's demonstrating that it works. We know that it works, but it's really nice to have your own like studies. This is what we do, and if finding the people that are willing, because from the Heal Scotland perspective, we want to have a place where people can come and heal or die in peace, with grace, and without just a different choice for people, because at this moment in time there's no choice. I don't know if you've been in a hospital recently, but it's my friends in Aberdeen Royal Infirmary, and I mean, I take my hat off to the nurses and doctors that work there, but I never want to be in a place like that. And I think there's a lot of people feel the same. So we need to create another place where you can be educated, and instead of feeling, well, you make me better, it's no, you make yourself better. Everything is within you. And I suppose a big part of that is really inspiring faith in the body. They've terrified us about our own bodies. The fact that you're giving the power away about what's happening inside you to someone else who doesn't even know you often, it's mental to me. So we need to have an alternative. And part of that, of course, is that you need the money. And, that's always becomes that chicken and egg thing. So you need to look for people that are philanthropists, or the community. The community needs to buy it, and the community needs to stand up and go, no, we're going to have a place, we're going to have beautiful outdoor nurseries for our kids, we're going to have beautiful spaces for our older people, and we're going to have a beautiful place for people that are sick. Because most people right now, there's long COVID's a big thing, etc. A lot of autoimmune disease, they will get better with the right education. But, right now it's just, they just go home, they feel that the doctor's not listening, because there really aren't any drugs for the chronic autoimmune diseases. It's lifestyle changes that have to come into play. And, you're changing belief systems to I am powerless to I am powerful. And I can heal myself, and the body heals itself. The intelligence is there. We just need to get out of the way. So that inspiration.
That's the same with the cold and all. Like, that's exactly what we say about the cold. The body is so adapted to looking after itself. But we're doing like long exposure or championships or whatever, world records or something like that. If you can keep your head out the way, keep your thinking out the way, your body will survive in the cold for a long, long time. A long, long time. Your body will maintain its own body temperature as long as you stay out its way. And it's remarkable to watch. You can actually see it in people. As soon as their mindset changes, their temperature just plummets. It's incredible how strong the body is.
Well, Wim demonstrated that, didn't he? I don't know if you read that part in the book when he said he was too busy watching Serena Williams, and then his body temperature started to drop, and then they were like, "You need to come out." And he's like, "Oh no, I lost my focus for a minute there," and he just brings it back in, and I mean, he is the man. I love that
That's
man.
something that we've found, man. And I think we're probably quite lucky. The fact that we went, through our mentor, Valery Romanovsky, by going down that path, we were able to do was take ourselves back to the start of Wim Hof. Well, Wim Hof was doing all these incredible things. Everybody was so inspired by Wim Hof standing in an ice box and swimming under glaciers and doing all these incredible feats, right? And we are like, I don't want a 3-minute cold water bath. I want to do that. That's what I want to do, what he's doing. And by going down the Valerian Romanovsky route, we have took ourselves right back to that start, where you look at like Jack, who sat in a bath full of ice and water under 0 degrees, and he sat there for 6 hours and 1 minute. And Jack's a polar bear, and he's the world champion right now. That nobody else has beat him. It's unbelievable how we can maintain the body temperature. Big Luca, he's number 4 in the world. And Big Luca's got diabetes, so he sat in the ice bath for 3.5 hours and came in 4th in the world. Do you know what I mean? It's incredible how we can maintain this. Anya's number 6. You get Alana, who stood in the box. Well, I think Wim Hof was just under 2 hours in the box, and Alana stayed in it for 2 hours and 10 seconds. Just pitting them. No, we're better or whatever. It's like, this is what we can do. This is what the human body can do. Fiona, 619 resets. This is the resets that we brought to Scotland for working with Valery Romanovsky. And some really big hitters have tried to come in and beat Fiona's record, and it's not really been possible. Then myself in the snorkel, world record, half an hour, under that 0 degrees water with just the snorkel sitting in. And it is unbelievable how much we can maintain our body temperature and how we can control that. It's wonderful, man.
Yeah. Well, that was always for me the missing part, was like, what is he doing or what is he thinking to maintain the temperature? Because, getting in, I mean, it's still quite a niche thing. A lot of people just will not consider it, even if they're not well, and they know it'll make them feel better. They just don't want to do it. But then once you get in this, because I don't stay in for long, because usually what happens to me, I get the drop and then I'm shaking for 2 hours. So I usually just stay in.
You say there, the drop. What do you mean the drop?
Well, when you start to shiver.
So the shivering is really, really good, though. So there's nothing to fear in the shiver.
But not when you're going to cut hair.
So we would say you've got to embrace the shake. The shake is the most important part about being cold. The most important part is this shake. If somebody's shaking, we have absolutely no interest or bother with them. So we could have somebody sitting in the tank for 45 minutes, and then they'll go into the recovery station and we'll wrap them up. And see, as long as they're shaking, there's no worry. But it's so important. That's what's maintaining your body temperature. If you've got a nice, healthy rattle, that is what's literally keeping you warm, man. It's the most important part. And after would be if your body temperature was dropping, right, and you weren't shaking, then you're in trouble. But if you're shaking, your body's working. Your body's working hard. That's how, like, before it, your diet's really important. Whereas you can probably afford to eat, lots of carbs, and like we would fill up in like pasta and chicken and lots of honey water, lots of energy. Because what we're trying to do before we get into the tank is build up enough energy for the shake to last for as long as it can possibly last. That's what we're trying to do. It's actually really simple, to be honest with you. It's actually really, really simple.
Interesting. Right, so listen, tell me about going into the prisons. How did that come about? Did they approach you or did you approach them?
The prisons is something that I've done for quite a long time, I would say. I've done it through the fellowship for a while. And then when I got back into the fellowship again, obviously starting the polar bear, it's probably more though the likes of Cisco, which is like the bridge between prison in the outside world. They started asking me to go in. So I started getting in with them as the Polar Bear Club and talking about, every time I get into the prison, I'm supposed to get in and talk about the Polar Bear Club and cold water therapy, but we always end up talking about drink and drug addiction, pretty much what me and you've just done. We end up just talking about drink and drug addiction. I seem to work quite well in there. And when I go in, I get a good response, and then people ask me, I always just get asked to go in again. It's just something that I really love doing. I really enjoy it. I love all the boys, man. Usually the boys that are coming to these things, the recovery cafes, or they seem to be kind of ready for change, and they seem to be kind of ready to listen to what's going on. And I'm no one of the guys that's rocking in there with a notepad and a program that we talk about. I kind of just rock in and I talk about it real. I don't really take any shit either. I just tell it how it is, man, and I'm quite straightforward with them. If I think they're full of shit, I tell them I think you're full of it, mate. I think you're acting that. And to be fair, they really respect that. And for me in the jails, it just seems to work.
When I went to work with the Second Chance Project, it was my friend, he was the doctor, and he said, and I just finished my diploma in nutritional healing. I said, what are you doing for nutrition with? And he said, oh, we don't have any budget. I said, well, I'll volunteer. And that's how it started. And they were kind of laughing at me going, she's wanting to teach recovering addicts about, And anyway, I went in, of course, and it ended up they absolutely loved it. And then we brought them into the gym. We had a beautiful health boutique in St. Vincent Street, and we used to bring them in and train them as well. And it was just because I'm like, you've basically been lied to. You're powerful. You need to understand how nutrition works with the body. Got them juicing, got them, because like nobody had ever addressed that side. And I remember, walking through George Square, and there was a guy sitting begging, and I was looking, thinking, I wonder how many nutrients you've ever had in your life, if you've ever had any nutrition to help your microbiome. And we're just looking at it from the inside out, outside in rather than inside out. So I think there's so much work to be done and there's all this kind of like, oh, you're into that health eating shout, and even my brother, when he was saying to me the other day, he says, I want to rip the piss out you for studying the Bible. But he says, I'm finding that I can't really. So it's like anything, that's what we do in Scotland, isn't it? It's like, I'm obviously big into foraging now and wild medicine plants, and I'm like, going, my God, people need to know about this. It's free and it's so absolutely fascinating. And we should all know about that. How on earth did we lose all that knowledge? Well, we know they burnt all the witches, obviously. But
we're always seeking comfort. Human beings are always seeking the easier, softer way and comfort. That's what we're always seeking. It's too easy to roll into McDonald's. It's too easy to phone a takeaway. It's too easy to. Why we're so adapt to the warmth? Double glazing windy, heating in your house, big fancy jackets on, into your car, heating on. We're always just seeking the comfort, the easier, softer way, rather than embracing being uncomfortable. Who wants to go foraging when you can sit in the house? It's that there's so much to be taught out
there. Well, exactly. And we're planning to stream a lot of our courses out for free all over the world in our socials, to get the information out. But of course, it's inspiring people to want to learn, I suppose. And if you're not willing, and I think it's all this, manifest your dreams, and it's all about me. Everything. It's about making me happy. And it's like, well, no, actually, it's not about that. It's about being a service. It's about being in this planet at this incredible time, but being willing to stand up and do what needs to be done. And that can be very uncomfortable, as we know, because people for some reason want to bring you down when you're just trying to help. And it's always about who's ready to listen, who's ready to hear, and tribing up. It's got to be for the people, by the people, exactly what you described there, how that organically grew, because you talk from your heart. You can tell that. You can tell when somebody's talking crap, when they're just repeating what somebody else has said instead of going, well, this is what I went. And you obviously went down a different road, as we all do. We do a course and we take a bit of it that we like, and we go where we're fascinated. And also, I think information's coming in different ways now. So when I know when I had the voice came into my head, wherever it came from, saying, you know, when my friend's daughter was getting a bone marrow transplant, the voice said, in 30 to 40 years' time, we will be appalled that we did this to children. And I didn't know where that came from. I thought it was my thought. And I was like, what? Because at that point, I believed what was happening was the only thing that could happen. Is before the internet, you couldn't research. You just had to take what was blindly fed to you by the apparent experts. And so from that minute on, I've been driven. I knew intuitively, even although I didn't have any belief in God or anything at that time, or anything, even a higher power, I just was getting on with my life. I knew intuitively there's a better way. There's a better way. There's a kinder way. And there's a way that will not cause even more disease. So that's what I've been for 30 years. I've been driven about that and banging on about breathing and cold. It's so brilliant now to see so much happening, because I think it's so easy to focus on what we've not yet achieved instead of actually focusing on what we have achieved. And all these cold water groups that are all over the place, they're doing amazing work, and regardless of whether they're in collaboration or whatever, they're getting people into the cold. That's all I care about. You're getting people breathing, getting people a bit aware that there's medicine growing right along these canal banks there. That's it. Drip, drip, drip. And we need thousands of people doing it. That's how we create the critical mass, and that's how we get our health picture, our health trajectory turned from one of the worst.
I think it probably is growing that way. It is actually going that way. You can see it now. Like, you can actually see mainstream media and all that now. You can actually see it with adverts like, Bank of Scotland and all that. They're starting to use it in their advertising. People get into the cold water. It is growing. Everybody's a cold water coach now. Everybody's a spiritualist now. It's like it's actually starting to go that way. As long as we can all kind of work together, and it could be quite beautiful. It could be a really, really nice thing if we can all just take everybody's different parts.
As a country, we can, get under our national pride. We can embrace the phenomenal nature that we have all around us. Even if you live in a city, you're not more than 20 minutes in a bus to a water mass. We're quite a small country. There's not a huge amount of us, but we need to stop fighting and bickering and pointing the finger and start to collaborate and work together. Not if it's not even for your sake, for the sake of our kids and our grandkids. And it's embarrassing what we may leave, and we can change that. We can change our health trajectory around. It just takes enough people to be willing to do the work to do it. So listen, I could keep you on here because there's so many. I'm definitely going to talk to you again because I would really like to do a whole podcast on the method that you're talking about, which, to be honest, I'm just really becoming aware of right now. It's fascinating. And I think, I need to be educated the same way as everybody else needs to be educated as to why there's different ways to do it depending on what you need.
A lot of the days, I know it's like we like to take a bit of the safety knowledge to people. I know a lot of people look at us and think we're dangerous and crazy and all that sort of stuff. But everything that we do, look at the Titanic project. It was a massive project about teaching, about us showing like coast guards and stuff how to keep looking for people longer rather than after 40 minutes expecting them to be dead. So a lot of the stuff that we do is about taking people to that shake you were talking about, how you were worried about the shake. We take them right into a deep rattle, and then we show them how to warm up properly, how to protect yourself, when to take a hot drink, don't take it too soon, where to put a hot water bottle, how much should you move. There's so much. So what we do is we do a lot of major stuff all about safety. So what did we to get out at some point?
Fantastic.
We need to get you in as well. We have to get you into the club.
Definitely. I will definitely be there. My diary is a bit crazy right now, but I would love to. I want to get the snorkel, that's what, and just see what can be done.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's such a beautiful place to be, so it is.
Yeah, well, listen, thanks a million for your time, Kenny, and well done what you're doing. It's an inspiring story, and I will talk to you really soon, and I'll send you a link. There's a few people come on here, Gail, Fiona, Barbara, thank you. Fiona, I'd be really interested to hear about your story too. So any questions you have, I'll send you the link for the videos. It's gone out over quite a few socials, and people can watch it and catch up and then contact you themselves.
No worries.
So thanks a million.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Cheers.
Have a great week, and I'll chat to you soon.
Thank you.